I'm Meredith Crawford, a crochet designer, writer, and the blogger behind OneSheepishGirl.com. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I can't wait to teach you the basics of crochet. I learned how to crochet the same way as you by watching videos. There were times when I got frustrated, I gave up, I didn't want to keep watching or trying, and I just want to encourage you to keep coming back, don't give up on your stitches, and I promise you, you'll get it. We're going to learn how to make this crochet basket, and the basket features two different types of crochet, flat and round, so you'll learn both of those techniques. But before we get started on the pattern, let's go through our supplies. Before we get started, I'm going to show you all the supplies you'll need for this project. First, you're going to need 2 skeins of chunky weight yarn in a teal color. It's a jumbo weight and it's 46 yards each. That'll help when you're making the basket, just so you have enough. You'll also need the gray color in the same weight, same yardage, and those will be for the handles of the basket. You also need scissors, a size USP crochet hook, and a tapestry needle. We also have a PDF download of the basket pattern that you can access on the course page by clicking the course download button. All right, let's get started. So first we're going to learn how to do a slip knot. We're going to take the yarn, place the tail of the yarn in front of the body of the yarn, to create this loop. We're going to bring the yarn back to create a second loop, and we're going to stick the crochet hook into that loop and tighten the tail so the slip knot is on the hook. There you go. And then we're going to move into the foundation chain. So we're going to wrap from back to front, pull that yarn down through the loop that's on your hook, and that's one chain. And make sure you do this loosely so your first row is a little bit easier to work with. We're going to wrap back to front, pull down through that loop on your hook, and just keep going. I'm going to do about 7 of these, just so we'll have a good first row. Back to front, pull down through, back to front, pull down through, back to front, down through. Okay, and then one more. All right, so starting the first row of single crochet, you're going to work into the second chain from your hook. And so you'll insert the tip of the hook under this V stitch right here. So you'll insert it under the 2 notches of the V, and then you're going to do that same yarn wrapping motion from back to front, pull down through that V. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, so you're going to wrap it again and then bring it down through both loops. And there's your first single crochet stitch. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way across this row. So again, we'll go under that V. We're going to wrap the yarn back to front, pull down through, wrap it again, and down through the 2 loops. Okay, so we're going to do it one more time. Into the V. And sometimes you can see I'm like struggling to find it. That's why it's really important to work that first foundation chain loose. That'll help you, especially as a beginner, to really get these stitches working well. So into the V, just under both of those notches, from back to front, down through that V. We have 2 loops on the hook, wrap it again, and down through both loops. So under, back to front, wrap, and down. Okay, we have 2 stitches left. So under the V, wrap from back to front, down through, back to front, and down through the 2 loops. All right, last one. Into the V, wrap the yarn back to front, pull down through, wrap it again, pull down through. So there is your first row of single crochet. Now if you messed up at any point while crocheting and things got off or it doesn't look quite right, it's really easy to fix your mistakes. So you'll just take your hook out and then gently pull the yarn and the stitches will just come out and you'll be able to easily go back and start at, say, the third stitch and put your hook back in. Oops, don't split the yarn like I just did. Put the yarn back in, and then you can just go back and fix your mistakes. So I'm just gonna fix my single crochets. So that's how you fix a single crochet mistake. Now we're going to go into round crochet basics, but if you're still struggling with this stitch and you need a little more time, rewind it, watch it again, really just make sure you get it down, and I'll be waiting for you at the next technique. There's no rush. You'll get this. So now I'm going to show you the round crochet basics. You'll need your yarn and a hook. I'm using the wintergreen yarn, but you can use whatever color you want. This is just for the basics, so just so you can get the practice down. So you're going to take your hook and we're going to start the magic ring. Sounds pretty fancy, but it's just the basic way to cast on for round crochet. So we're going to wrap the yarn around your index finger 3 times. And then you're going to put the hook under, so you have 3 loops on your finger. You're going to put the hook under the first 2 loops while keeping it on your finger. So you have it through like that, and then you're going to pull that last loop through the first 2 loops. And you'll slip those loops off your finger, and so you can kind of see you have a little bit of a circle here, and this is what we're going to be working into as we do our first round of crochet. So we're going to pull in a technique we've already used, which is the chain, and we're going to wrap the yarn, pull it down, and we're going to chain 3. And now we're going to do a new stitch called double crochet. And this is the same as single crochet, just a few more wraps in there, but it's the basics principle is the same, so don't get scared. Okay, we're going to wrap the yarn from back to front. We're going to insert the hook into this loop here. So this is where we'll work all of our stitches for this first round. Into the loop, wrap it again, pull up through the loop, and you see how you have 3 loops on the hook. We're going to wrap the yarn again and pull through just the first 2 loops. 1, 2. Perfect. We're going to wrap it again, and then the next 2 loops pull through. And there is your double crochet stitch. And you can see it's a little bit taller than just single crochet. But again, it's the same basic movement, so I know you can do this. All right, we're going to keep going to make our first round. Wrap the yarn, insert it into that loop, wrap it again, pull up through the loop, wrap, pull through the first 2 loops, wrap it again, and pull through the last 2 loops. And you'll want to keep unraveling your yarn as you work, because that's just how it goes. So your yarn might roll around on the table or on the floor, but that's okay. So we'll just keep going. Wrap the yarn, insert into the center, wrap it again, pull up, wrap it again, pull through those first 2 loops, wrap it again, and pull through. And for this circle, I'm going to do 7 double crochet, and that first chain stitch is going to count as 1 double crochet. So once you get 7 double crochet, you'll have your first circle will be done. So you'll just keep going through the stitches, and don't forget to rewind if you're feeling stuck and you're not getting it yet. I know you will, so just keep trying. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do 2 more, and then I'll show you how to join this round to make a circle. Okay, so we're going to see this tail piece here? At the end, you're going to pull that tight so the middle kind of shrinks down a bit. Okay, so now we're going to join with the slip stitch to finish off the circle. So we're going to insert the hook into that V that we've already done before, under those 2 loops, wrap the yarn, and then we're going to pull that yarn through all of the loops on the hook. So pull through, and there you go. It's closed off and you've got your first part of a circle. And with the basket pattern, I'm going to show you how to build that circle up and make it even bigger. So let's get started on the basket. Now we're going to start on the crochet basket. First, we're going to make the handles, and so you'll need the gray foggy yarn, your scissors, and your crochet hook. I'm going to move the supplies out of the way so we can take a look at the finished handles on the basket. Here's the basket. This is what we're working towards. It features the two techniques we've already learned, round and flat crochet, and the flat crochet is here in the handles. And the finished handle looks like this. And you'll see it has two long tails, and we're going to use these to sew the handle directly onto the basket. So let's move everything off to the side, and we're going to get started on the handles. Make sure you have the printout of the pattern just nearby so you can follow along all the steps as we get started. All right, first start following the pattern, and we're going to work on that first row of the handles. So we're going to take the yarn, create the slip knot, and put it on the hook. Now the pattern says to chain 6, so we're going to do 6 chain stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and see how I split the yarn there? So you'll want to make sure you fix those mistakes, because in the end that'll just make your finished product look better. So we've done 3, we've fixed that mistake. We're wrapping it around, pulling up. We've got 4, 5, and 6. So we've got 6 for our foundation chain here, and we're going to start working our first row of single crochet. So for row 1, starting in the second chain from the hook, we're going to insert our hook into that V-stitch, wrap the yarn around from back to front, pull through, wrap the yarn again, and pull through both of those loops. We're just going to repeat that step all the way across the row. So into the loop, into that V stitch, wrap the yarn, pull down, wrap it again, pull through 2, and continue all the way across until you have 5 single crochet stitches. And then it'll be a little tighter on that first row just because it's a foundation chain, but once you move into your second row of this pattern, it's a lot easier. So don't give up. If it's a little fiddly at first, just keep trying. You'll notice on the second row it's a lot easier. So here's our last stitch. Insert into that hook, wrap the yarn, pull through, wrap it again, and here we have our first row of the basket. So starting on the second row, we're going to chain 1, wrap the yarn around, and pull up a loop, and then we're going to turn our work and start in on the second row. So insert the hook into that V, wrap the yarn, and pull up. We're going to do that same single crochet all the way across until we reach the end, and you'll notice my yarn's getting a little tight, so just keep unwrapping it as you go because you'll be using yarn, so you'll want to, unwrap it so it's not too tight. And then insert the hook, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, into this last stitch here, wrap, pull up, pull through 2. So here we have our finished handle with 5 single crochet, 2 rows of 5 single crochet. And to finish it off, we're going to take our scissors and cut just a nice length of yarn, about this long, so you can sew it onto the finished basket. So we're going to cut that, and then to finish off the piece, you will pull the crochet hook and that yarn you just cut and just pull it straight through your last stitch and tighten it, and there you go. There's one handle all done. And so the pattern says to make 2 handles, so once you have both handles finished, with their long tails that you can sew onto the basket, we'll be ready to move on and actually start crocheting this basket. So now we're going to start at the base of the basket. You'll need the wintergreen yarn, you'll need 2 skeins to finish the basket, a crochet hook, and your pattern. To start the base of the basket, you're going to build up a flat round piece, and then we'll start working at the sides. So the flat piece looks like this. And as we work each round, you'll see it increases and gets bigger and bigger from that small little circle, similar to the one where we learned the round crochet techniques. So let's start the pattern. I'm going to walk you through the first 2 rounds, and then you'll finish the last 3 on your own, but we'll come back together with this finished piece. All right, let's get started. So we have our yarn and our hook, and we're going to start with the magic ring technique that we learned. So you will wrap your yarn 3 times around your finger, take the hook under those first 2 loops, and then pull that 3rd loop directly underneath those 2. And you'll slide that ring off your finger, and you'll see there's a little hole in the middle, and you will chain 3 to build up your first round. So 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do a double crochet into the center of the circle. So wrap the yarn, insert into the center, wrap the yarn again, pull up, wrap the yarn, pull through 2, wrap the yarn again, and pull through 2. And so as you follow the pattern, you'll see that the first round has 8 double crochet in the middle. And so we'll just keep doing those double crochet until we reach the end. So we're going to wrap, insert into the hook, up 1, wrap again, pull through 2, wrap, pull through 2. And just keep unwinding your yarn as you work, because it'll roll around on the floor or on the table, but that's okay. So just give yourself some slack and then keep going. Wrap the yarn into the center, pull up, wrap the yarn, pull through 2, wrap the yarn, pull through 2. So I have 1, 2, 3. So a few more to go, and we'll just keep going until we reach the end. And then once we have 8 total double crochet, so go through, look at your stitches, count how many you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need 1 more. So I'm going to work that last one into the center. And then we're going to tighten hold the tail, tighten it up. So the middle hole disappears a little bit. And then we're going to join with a slip stitch, just like we learned before. So into the top of that first chain 3, we're going to insert the hook, wrap the yarn, and then pull through all the stitches. And so there's round 1 of the basket. So let's move into round 2. So on the pattern, it says it's the same thing. We'll chain 3. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So starting with the first one, we're going to work into that same stitch, wrap the yarn, and do another double crochet, because that chain 3 counts as a double crochet stitch. So into that same spot, do a double crochet, pull up, and then repeat all the way around. So you will double crochet here, and then in the same spot, you can see, here's the stitch we just worked in, so we're going to work right in there again, right here, and now we have 2. And so this will just build up and make our circle bigger and bigger as we build the base of the basket. There's a lot of bees there. Okay, so into the next stitch, up, wrap around, pull through 2, wrap around, pull through 2 again, and just keep repeating 2 double crochets in each stitch all the way around. And as you move into that 3rd round, you will do the same thing, but only you will alternate the double crochets per stitch. So it'll spread out a little more evenly as you make the basket bigger. So we're just building up each stitch, Kind of looks like a seashell right now, but eventually the circle shape will come back. So we're crocheting into each spot until we reach the very end. And the pattern says that you will have 16 total double crochet stitches once you reach the end. So you'll want to go back and count and just make sure you have the correct number before you move on to the next round. So here we're getting to the very last spot, and double crochet, and then let's go through and count just together so we'll make sure we're on the same page. So we have our chain 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So we've got all of our stitches, and we're going to join the stitch to the top of that chain 3, just like we did on that first round. Join, insert the hook, wrap, and pull through. And here you go. So here's round 2 all finished. So now you're going to finish the base of the basket on your own. You'll follow rounds 3 through 5, and make sure you look at the printout from the download that you got on the website, and each round indicates a different number of double crochets. So just follow along on that sheet, and we'll end up in the same spot, and we'll come back here and I'll show you what that looks like. So here's the finished base of the basket, and now we're going to move into round 6. So we're going to start by chaining 1, because this round is a round of single crochets instead of double crochet. So we're going to chain 1, and this round changes things up a bit because it builds up a foundation as we build up the sides. So starting in the part of the V that's furthest from you, you're going to insert the hook into that section, wrap the yarn once, pull through, wrap the yarn, and pull through 2. So you'll see it's a little different than what we've done before because we're just working into one of the loops. And this starts building up the side edge of the basket. It's the same principle, just putting the hook in a different spot. So into that first half of the loop, wrapping, pulling through, wrap again, and pull through. And you're just going to keep single crocheting all the way around. We're not increasing anymore. We're not doing double crochets. It's all just one because now we're just building up the sides of our basket. So now you're going to finish this round on your own, and we'll come back with all the single crochets finished, and we'll move into building up the sides of the basket. All right, so now we finished round 6, and you can start to see the sides of the basket are building up. And what we're going to do is join our last stitch of that round. We're going to insert the hook under both V's, not just one, wrap the yarn, pull through, and then pull through again. So we have finished round 6. And then we're going to start 3 rounds of double crochet to build up the pattern. So you'll follow along on your downloaded sheet, but I'll show you what that looks like. And then I'm also going to show you how to add in a second ball of yarn to make sure, because you'll need 2 to actually finish the basket. So we're going to start just the same way with the chain 3, because we're building up double crochet stitches. And then you're just going to double crochet into each space around. And then as we keep double crocheting, and once you get to a certain point where you're running out of yarn, so you can see here I don't have much left, you'll want to leave a good amount of yarn just that you can sew it in later at the end when we do our finishing. So I think one more stitch and I'll stop. And you can see here we have just a little bit left. So now we're going to add in the second ball of yarn. So you'll take it, it's really simple. You're just going to take the end of the yarn, and we're going to let this tail loose in the basket, just leave it in there. We're going to put that to the side, we're not going to use it anymore. and we're going to wrap or drape the yarn over the hook, just like that. So kind of like you're wrapping it, but in this case we're just draping it. We're inserting it into the next hook, wrapping it, hold that tail or hold that piece tight just so it doesn't slip off. Pull up, hold both with your finger, wrap again, and then we're going to pull through those two. Wrap again and pull through two. So there you go, it's joined. You have all these extra pieces in here that we're going to sew in later with that tapestry needle, but we'll get to that at the end. So what we're going to do is keep double crocheting around. So now you're going to finish rounds 7 through 9 on your own. Each round is double crochet. You just do it the same double crochet in each stitch, join with a slip stitch, and when you're done, come back here and I'll show you what it looks like. So now the sides of the basket are finished, and in the next section I'll show you how to weave in these extra ends, bind it off, and sew on the handles to the side of the basket. Okay, so now we're going to finish up the basket. We're going to tidy it up a bit, so you'll need the scissors, your hook, and the needle. With the hook, you're basically just you'll probably still have it here as you're crocheting. You'll have it on this last stitch where you ended, and we're going to cut a long length of yarn, just like we did before when we bound off the handles. We're going to cut that. So and then after you cut the yarn, you'll just pull that piece through and tighten up that last stitch so you've bound off that final row. And now we're going to take that tapestry needle and weave in all of these little pieces. And what I like to do is I turn the basket inside out. That way it's just easier to see. And I usually lay it flat. And so you'll see these pieces here. This is where we added that second ball of yarn. And you'll want to thread the yarn on your tapestry needle, but your yarn might look like this, where it's a little frayed, so you'll want to just make sure it's nice and even, so it'll just make it easier to get into the needle. So you'll trim that just a little bit, so you have a nice clean edge, and then thread it through. I like to push it together and thread it through that big yarn needle. It takes a few tries, but usually just kind of have to work it through, and there you go. So you've threaded the needle, and we're going to stitch the yarn underneath some of these stitches just to hide the tail away, and that way you'll have a nice clean finished look. So we're just inserting the needle under some stitches. I like to go in kind of a different pattern, so that way if the basket stretches out, the yarn is unlikely to pop out, and if it does, you can just trim it away. But this random pattern is kind of one of the best ways to just have a finished look. So just do a few more. The more you do, the less likely it is to show up later. So it'll just look more clean in the end. So there we go. Finish the last one. Spread it out. And then we're just going to cut that little piece off. And so as you pull the yarn back, it disappears into the fabric and you don't have any more tail. So you're going to repeat that step for all of the other extra pieces. And when you're done, I'll show you how to add the handles to the side of the basket. So now the basket's finished, all the extra ends are tucked away, and I'm going to show you how to sew the handles onto the sides of the basket. So you'll need those two handles you made before, your tapestry needle, and the scissors. So let's take one of the handles, move this other one off to the side, and you'll position the basket. So basically the first one that you start, you'll just place the handle on the side opposite of that handle. So you're going to thread your needle like you did before with that long tail that's on your handle. I might need to trim this one so it's easier to put in to the eye of the needle. So we're going to thread the needle. And then, okay, so you're going to place the handle towards the upper section of the basket. So thread the needle through the middle section of that top stitch and just pull it all the way through. And since we want this part of the handle to be open, we're going to not sew this way across, and we're just going to sew straight down. So I will look through here, put that needle in, and then pull it up through the front. So it's just a basic stitch. And you pull that through, and then you'll just go straight back down again. So down and through. Make sure you go through both the handle and the basket, and pull the needle all the way through. And then you'll come up one more time to get this bottom section. And then we'll end by going through the back. And then that's the side where we will sew in the ends. So we finished one side, so I'm going to unthread that and move on to sewing on the second side. So we'll thread the needle again. So we're going to sew the second side of the handle. So I'm going to thread the needle again and go down through the basket, pull it, and we're going to go back up through. Make sure you get the needle through some of the basket, through some of the handle, pull it through, and just do it again. Down through, make sure it goes through some of the basket, and pull it through. And so now you can see the handle is on there, but we have these, you'll see these extra pieces that we'll have to sew in with our tapestry needle. So thread the needle again. It's a pretty thick yarn, so it's always kind of tricky. Maybe we'll have to trim it. And thread the needle. And we'll just weave in those ends like I showed you before. So under a stitch this way, under a stitch going down here, maybe go up, and then across. And we'll finish it off. Pull it. Finish it off, pull it through, and then trim this last piece with the scissors. And pull it to tighten so that piece disappears. And you'll repeat that same step with the other piece. So thread the needle. Thread the needle, insert into the stitches, and just tuck that extra yarn away. Hide it in the stitches of the basket. Have a little snag here. There we go. Just keep sewing in those ends, and then we're going to trim the tail, pull it to tighten, and now we have one handle on the basket. So for the second handle, you'll just mirror the first handle by doing it on this side of the basket, follow the same steps, sew it on, and then I'll show you what the finished basket looks like. Here it is, the finished basket. You did it. It's all done, and it's perfect for storing things like magazines, yarn, other small items. It's just a great way to keep your craft room organized, keep your yarn handy. Now that you're a crochet master, you're gonna have a lot of yarn around. So congratulations, you did it. I'm so proud of you. So you did it. You crocheted a basket. Did you think when you started this video that you would end up with this at the end? Probably not. But I'm so proud of you. And if you didn't, or if you messed up along the way, I really just hope you don't give up. Keep watching it, come back, give it a try. And I know at some point you're going to end up with a piece that you're happy with. And these skills don't just stop at a crochet basket. You can make so many other items, granny squares, little fun watermelons and coffee cups, and all kinds of patterns in my book, Crochet with One Sheepish Girl. So I just want you to use these skills as you move forward to make things for yourself that you love, for friends, and show them how much you love them, and just keep pursuing the craft and growing as you learn new things. And I want to see your finished projects. So share your photos on Instagram with the hashtag #IamCreative, tag Brit & Co. One Sheepish Girl. You'll find all of my social accounts on my website, onesheepishgirl.com. So just reach out on Twitter, Instagram with any questions or just to say hi. I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun. Let's keep crocheting.